Okay. Yeah, so we're going to be recording our session today. We actually will put one of our sessions up so that others can see the session at a later time. It may or may not be this one, but we're going to record all our sessions. I just want you to know. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to be sharing my screen a lot, and just know that the presentation slides, I believe Paula has already put the link into the chat. So if you want to follow along, or you can save that link for later, it will also be on my shared slide. There will be a shortener there for you. Let me go in and share my screen with you really quick. Okay, so let me put our slides up. Are you able to see my screen okay, you guys? Can you see the slides? Yes, I see Trisha shaking her head. Okay, perfect. So there's the link down there is go.bcsd.com, and then we have a DTK. So you can also find our slides using this link as well. So we want to start off with a welcome from Mark Lukey, our Deputy Superintendent, and it's a short video and it's his welcome. And just let me know if you can't hear it for any reason, but I think it should be ready to go.
Good morning and welcome to Summer Virtual Institute. I appreciate and thank all of you for joining us this week and willing to learn with us as we lean into a new year of learning with our students. This is not the instructional program that we had hoped to accomplish this year in terms of our students starting the year in a virtual format. But I believe that together we will build a strong instructional program to support the students of our district. So I want to speak a little bit about the importance of this week's learning with respect to our instructional program and emphasize a couple of key points for us before we start today. First and foremost, I'd like to emphasize the importance of understanding what the state is requiring of school districts this year, and that there are a set number of instructional minutes that we must adhere to. It is our goal that through the virtual nature of our instructional program over the first quarter, that we can rise above and beyond those minimum minutes, ensuring that our students receive ample in-person to the best of our ability instruction, meaning synchronous learning, where we are zooming in with our students online, supporting them, teaching them, equipping them with the skills to be successful in this virtual format. And then we are also balancing that with what we call asynchronous time, where we are assigning kids to complete assignments through many of our instructional tools and resources, while we as teachers and educators work in small groups with students who simply need more time with intervention. And so you are going to receive a lot of information from our instructional services support team. You are going to receive a lot of tools and resources to support you with the instructional design of our program for this year. Just know that we're in this together. Let's support each other. Let's be there for each other, and let's work together to make the very best and strongest instructional program for our students. So once again, thank you very much. I look forward to learning with you this week, and I look forward to a successful school year. Thank you.
Awesome. So that was Mark Lukey, our Deputy Superintendent, and I think I have one person in the waiting room. Okay. So for quick introductions, I just want you to, I just want to give a quick shout out to the team that helped us this summer. There was a team of teachers from different school sites, different staff that really came together in this time to create lessons, to create professional development, to just really give time and energy. And these are some of those amazing, amazing people that helped us out this summer. There was maybe over 100 people involved in this return to school just task force. And so this was our math team representing, you know, Sequoia, MLK, Sierra. We had Cato represented, we had Compton, and so forth. So it was just, I just want to give them an extra shout out for the dedication and time that they put in to all of this work. So that's the team. For today's agenda, we're going to start with some introductions. We'll touch on the math behaviors that we really introduced last summer, and that really are just the core of the work that we do and we want to instill in our students. We will look at the key essential standard documents that were put together this summer. We are going to look at lesson design and actually model a lesson for you. And the lessons, just to give you a little heads up, they've been designed for approximately 4 weeks, four modules we're calling them, but it's about 4 weeks of lessons that have been designed. And again, just to give you a heads up, these lessons are there for you to utilize as you see fit. You can look at these, modify them. You can pick parts that you want to use and not use. And so these, again, we'll be spending some time going through these today. And again, this is part of that work and dedication of that team. We'll look at the EdTech Center, which is a new website that's been built for our teachers, our staff, and it's going to be a lot of how-to support and help. And it will also include these lessons that we're going to talk about today. And we'll finally end with an exit ticket and a sign out. So again, to give you a heads up, you will be signing out at the end of this session. And this is how we will be taking attendance. You do need to stay through the end of the session. We will give that link probably about 10 minutes before the session is over. If for any reason you cannot stay for the full session, you will need to retake the session. And if you know you're not going to be able to stay for the whole session, I would suggest you sign up for a different session at this time so that you at least will get credit. Some of the norms that we have for virtual PD, if you could mute yourself, that'd be great. I mean, everyone stays muted, but if you want to say something, just unmute yourself. Use the chat. So what I'd like us to do really quick is make sure that all of you feel comfortable using this chat box. So if you could just type in your name really quick into the chat box. And if you're not sure where to find the chat box, go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know. Okay. Oh, thank you, Julie. Okay. Anyone need help finding the chat box? We're good? Okay. I think I see most all your names there. I see some thumbs up, so we're good. Okay. Please, this is a safe place, so if there is any time you have a question, put it in the chat box. We'll address it as we can get to it, or you can unmute yourself and, chime in. All right, good. So I'm going to get us back to our screen. And then the last two things really for this is be patient with us, be patient with me, be patient with Paulo, be patient with each other, be patient with yourselves, and be patient with our students. It's really something different, just like Mark said, we're going to do our best to build a very strong experience for our students. And we really have to give ourselves grace in this whole process. So be patient and be positive because that's the energy that our kids are going to need, and it's the energy that we all need. So that positive attitude is so important to help make everyone's anxiety levels come down, especially our kiddos. So think about these virtual PD norms and think about how you might want to use them with your own students, because we found that, like, one thing, for example, is we love to see everybody's faces. So even as adults, if we could see each other's faces, that means that we need to take our cameras and leave them on, and so just even establishing some of those norms in your classroom will help you build that community, that culture, and just, building relationships with your students so you can interact. So virtual PD norms. Once again, we'll put that sign out at the last 10 minutes. For you, it's a form. I can tell you right now it's a form. You'll put your name and just, some kind of basic information, and that will give you the credit for attending this session. And we also have a parking lot. So if you have any questions related, you can ask away, but if we can't answer them and they're more district questions, you can use the parking lot and you can ask your questions there, and they will be receiving those. If there's some questions that we can't answer, however, your administrators might be able to answer, we'll refer you to ask your administrators. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Paulo, and it's nice to see so many familiar faces. Paulo, I'm going to stop sharing and give you the screen.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see me well and hear me well. My Wi-Fi does tend to act funny sometimes, so hopefully we don't have none of that today. Okay, so here is the next slide that we'll start with, and we'll start with Jamboard. Jamboard is fairly new to me. I don't know how long it's been around, but I love it so far. It's a pretty cool tool to make it interesting for kids, since we're embarking this whole new journey of virtual learning. So just to change it up and make it fun for them, we could use Jamboard. There is a 7th grade link. If you click it, and I think Hilda will also share it on the chat. But if you click it, it'll take you to a Jamboard that we created, so we can play around for a little bit. And I think the first one was from the earlier session, so we're going to use the second frame. Okay, so it should be a brand new window. And the cool thing is you can change the background, you can play with it. So what we would like you to do is we would like you to just say, state your name, your site, if you teach another subject besides math, and how long you've been at your site, and something that makes you happy. I'm going to copy that. Let me see. I'm gonna create my sticky note. So it has a pen feature, an eraser feature. You could upload images. It has a laser feature. Laser feature is pretty cool because if you just want to put emphasis on something, it'll be there for a few seconds and then it'll go away. But if you use a sticky note, you should be able to choose from different colors. And then as you type, there's going to be a line up here at the bottom, blue. And once it fills up, it'll turn red. That means you have written too many words and you have to delete some. So I'm going to start by modeling what I would like you guys to do real quick. So I'm going to say, hi, I'm Paulo. I teach at Sequoia Middle School. I teach math and science for 7th grade. One thing that is making me happy is being able to wake up 5 minutes before work. Now, ideally, I love teaching in the classroom, but I do find we have to find some positivity through this. So the positive for me is I could wake up 5 minutes before showing up to work. Just turn on my computer screen, and there we go. So we'll give you a few minutes if you guys like to play around with Jamboard and just put that sticky note, and you could also change the colors, and that'll be, kids will like that. And again, you could just ask them a question and then they could answer via Jamboard. So hopefully you find this tool useful, and then all you got, you can move it around, you can resize it, you can rotate it, so you can just have fun with it. And the cool thing about it is it does link to your Google Classroom. Really easy. It could be found on the G Suite, on the section where all the Google apps are at.
Hilda, one thing we found out in our session right before this in 6th grade is there's a 50 participant max. So
Yes. Thank you, Tony. We found out, yes, I heard about it this morning, so yes. Thank you.
And then another reason why I like Jamboard is because a few weeks ago they told us we were going to use Google Meets, but I'm not sure. I believe we're going to use Zoom now for our kids. Zoom has a lot more features when it comes to like a whiteboard, and Google Meet doesn't have that. So this was my substitute for a whiteboard. I used the pen feature, you know, to do math, to show work to the kids, and that's why I really liked it as well. Okay, so we have some.
No, I use Jamboard for my my expectations, my poster in summer school, where all the kids had to go in and sign their name.
Oh, okay. Social contract. Okay. So we have some 8th grade. All right, guys, thank you so much for participating. Hopefully you guys like this tool and you're able to mold it to whatever fits your class and your style.
Paolo, can I add something really quick?
Yeah.
Because you can use this as a whiteboard. So if you have like a writing tablet or a stylus, or if you have like, what's it called, where you can write with your finger, like an iPad or something, like you could solve your problems on here. You know, it can serve as a whiteboard. And then there's also a link in the slide that Paolo just shared that says BCSD Jamboard, and you can go in there and there's a few samples. So there's going to be a folder where they will house some samples. And I think there might be one that's for math. And so if you just want to go in there and get some ideas or even add some in yourself.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and exit this Jamboard, and we're going to move on to the next slide. So here we have our BCSD core priorities. If you're a new teacher, you're fairly new to this. If you've been with the district, then you should be familiar with these. It's our 4 main core priorities. Here we have a learning intention for today. To understand lesson design, components, and purpose for mathematics learning that includes a balanced approach utilizing math behaviors. Our success criteria: I am successful when I can navigate and deliver rich mathematical instruction that will promote mathematical learning, belief, and behaviors where students can thrive in mathematics regardless of the environment setting. We highly encourage you to always work with your PLCs when developing your learning intentions. Our team is, you know, our next family at the workplace. So, and we're all teaching the same kids. So we want to do what's best for them, and we want to let them know what the learning intention is there for, which is they should let them know what they're learning that day. It shouldn't be up there for us. It should be up there for them. So we just highly encourage you to do that. Okay, in this slide, we have the math behaviors linked. We will also drop them in the chat. If you open them up, we have them both in English and Spanish. Okay, and I just want you to take a few moments to hover over them, look at them, look at the different components with it, with each behavior. And we also want you to just keep in mind that a lot of times we we tend to forget that we're actually just already doing this in the classroom, you know, in our with our kids. So these are the 8 mathematical practices, and they all display the types of behaviors that we want students to show in the classroom. And a lot of times, from my personal experience, I used to look at the mathematical practices and I would say, wow, when am I going to do this? But if you read these small descriptions within each mathematical practice, like, you might realize that you're already doing it. And it just goes to show that, the fancy language, the mathematical practices, it's not something that should scare us, or should just make us feel like intimidated, like, wow, how am I doing this? Like, we're not doing mathematical practice too. Like, you just look at the components of each and we might already be doing it. So just check those out for a few moments, and then we would like to share, if you have something to share about these math behaviors, if you remember something sticks out from these that you've done in the classroom, you could share with us.
And I'm gonna put a Padlet in so that you can use a Padlet to share, like, something that you've done in your classroom to kind of like pull out those, to draw out those math behaviors. So right now I put in the chat, the behaviors are in there, and then the Padlet is in there. Paula, I don't know if you want to say anything else. I just wanted you guys to know I put them in the chat.
Yeah, we're gonna use Padlet real quick right now. I just want you to look at the math behaviors and kind of point out if something stands out that you've already been how do I say it? Like, if you remember your kids displaying some of these behaviors, so we're just giving you a few moments for you to do that. So if you open up the Padlet, it's another great tool, again, for engagement, for collaboration, for discourse with the kids. The only thing that I do know about Padlet is that it only lets you do 3. So you want to add more, I think you have to keep it to a minimum of 3, maximum of 3. It doesn't let you do more than 3. So I don't know if there's a subscription or anything like that, but I just know that it just lets you keep 3 for now. And the cool thing about Padlet is that it keeps it anonymous as well. So, if you have shy kids in your classroom, it will not show their name. You can upload images, links, videos, a bunch of things. And it's just another great way to have collaboration. So we would like you to use it and answer the question that says, what have you used to draw out math behaviors in your students? So the plus sign in the bottom right is where you would access, and then you give it a title. And then you can also comment. You should be able to comment, right, Holden, on other people's posts?
You should, but I'll try it, because I think we struggled with it earlier, but we always have been able to.
Might be in the settings. Let me change them up. Let me see. Okay, yeah, you have to turn it on. And then you also have to turn it off if you wanted to keep it anonymous. Otherwise, it will show their name, but it's in the settings. So you just go in there and play with it. You'll be able to see all those features. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and look at some. So using calculators and Desmos. Yeah, Desmos is great. Talk about real world, number talks. Students have to be able to mathematically justify the solution, explain why the answer makes sense, math tasks. Which one doesn't belong? Choice boards. Anything that gives students an option to pick how they want to show their learning thinking. All right, thank you guys for participating. Really appreciate it. So again, here's another tool, Padlet. If you like it, have fun with it. Do we need about another minute, or if you're good to go? We're good to go? Okay.
And can I just add, Paula, that to the team, to everyone, like, it's going to be so important for us to give our kids wait time. Like Paulo gave us wait time, even though it might feel like, oh, this is taking forever. You know, just in this virtual setting, we're going to need wait time. And because it takes some kids a little longer to do a task, or, you know, just be very mindful of that. And that wait time will need to become, we need to become comfortable with wait time in this virtual setting. And even though it might feel a little weird at first, because in our classrooms we're busy bodies and we're always moving, walking around, giving feedback, you know, just really on it. But here we're just going to have that patience and that grace with our kids and ourselves even. Thanks, Paulo.
Yeah, and I can attest to that, because right now we're doing summer school, and I've ran into that particular situation of having a lot of wait time because of other factors, such as students being distracted at home, which is not entirely their fault, but it will happen. It will happen. And we just have to be mindful of that, because they're not in the classroom setting, they're at home, where they might have other siblings, they might have their own parents calling them for something. It's just gonna be a little different. So the wait time is gonna be really important. Okay, in our next slide, we have linked this book on the top left called Principles to Action. This is the complete PDF, the complete book. It is there. If you'd like to take a look at it later on, it's there. And what this slide really points out is just the indicators of what teachers should be doing to observe and gather evidence, relevant evidence to direct their instruction. So if you look at the slide, it says, you know, teachers should be identifying what counts as evidence of student progress, gathering evidence of student understanding, interpreting student thinking to assess mathematical understanding, reasoning, making in-the-moment decisions. And we all know how that feels when you teaching a lesson and you just have a kid that doesn't get it, and you have to quickly find a strategy or something that works for that kid. So we have to improvise a lot. And we also have to reflect on the evidence that we gather, like an exit ticket or CFAs, any type of formal assessment that will direct your instruction for the next day or for the next week and prepare them for an assessment, or also for a small group. And it also indicates what the kids should be doing, such as revealing their mathematical understanding, like some of you pointed out on the Padlet. Kids should be able to reflect on their mistakes and not feel bad about themselves. They got to understand that math and science, you know, it's trial and error, just has to keep going. They got to be able to ask questions, and they could also have self-efficacy, which will let them know their progress. Are they meeting their goals? Are they not meeting their goals? Are they monitoring their own growth? So that's kind of like the ideal behaviors that we want from kids. Okay. Oops, sorry about that. I wasn't supposed to click that. In our next slide, we will have the key essential standards displayed. We have them by grade level, and they should be linked as well.
Yeah, and with these, the key essential standards, those are documents that were created for every single grade level. That was the first task that we were actually asked to do during this summer, and we kind of just started out with our units and keeping things similar and familiar. So the pacing, the scope sequence stayed the same. However, you're going to see that we've made some additions to this document. The document itself is usually over 50 pages long because you have all the ELA standards and then you have all the math standards. We have bookmarked them for you, so you don't have to go and try to find where does math start. So once you click, once we give you the link and you're able to click into the document, it will take you straight to math section. Okay. So with this piece here, we really want you to explore the document without us giving you any information. So what we're going to do is we're going to put you into breakout rooms. And we've got a lot of feedback about the breakout rooms, people using this for the first time, people wanting to know how to use the breakout rooms. And so at the very end of our presentation today, there's a slide that says resources. We just added a breakout session link for you, and Rachel is working on putting together like how do you create a breakout session. So I'm just kind of giving you that in advance. We didn't have it this morning, and it won't maybe be done today, but she's going to be working on it. Okay. If you're interested. So I'm going to put you into breakout rooms. And so if you haven't been into breakout rooms, basically I'm going to put you into smaller little Zoom meetings, right? And I will be able to kind of go around and I can just toggle back and forth through different breakout rooms. And I will do that. I might just say, hey, everybody, and so that you can see as a teacher, you'd be able to move around the different rooms. I also will be setting a timer for your breakout room. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes for you to look at the document and then come up with 3 things that you notice about the document. We're just going to come back and share verbally. So I don't have a place for you to write that down anywhere, but I do want you to think about, look, if this was a task you wanted to give students, you could create a document in which they would type 3 things that they see or some questions that they have for you. So there's all these different ways that you can use the virtual setting that works for you, your style, your kids. For today, we're going to put you into breakout rooms and we're just going to bring you right back. And again, just verbally, just one of you be a spokesperson for your breakout room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 5 minutes to break you into breakout rooms and discuss and look at the document together. You will be able to share in your breakout room. So you can, if one person wants to share the document and put it up, that's great. And also you'll have a 1 minute countdown. So that 1 minute, it's a little timer. It will just kind of count down to 0 and then it'll push you back into this main room. Okay, so here we go. Again, be patient if it's your first time. It's okay, we're all learning and doing this together. So let me put you into breakout rooms. So I'm going to divide us into 4 breakout rooms. I'm going to push you in automatically. Give me just a second. I'm going to put it in for 5 minutes with a 60-second countdown. All right, so I think we're good. So we'll see you back in 5 minutes or when I kind of just pop in. We'll wait about 30 more seconds and then the rest will push in. I think you're on mute, Julie, if you were trying to say.
I know, I forget. We need to have a stand and stretch every so often, you know?
Yes, yes.
Put that in.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I think we have everyone back. Usually when you enter back from a breakout room, it will, I believe, always be in mute. So just remember that. And so even like when I was, as a teacher, as a host, I was going around to your breakout rooms, I always enter in on mute. So that's just something to remember when you're in a breakout. So, all right, so I'm just gonna ask breakout room 1, which had Brandy, Brian, Carrie, Paulo, and Trisha, if they have one thing they can share with us that they noticed about the standards document. And anybody can speak.
We had talked about how the supporting standards and stuff were different colors, so we were able to easily see which ones were the main one and which ones were supporting.
Right, yeah, so if you didn't quite catch that, anything in blue is additional and supporting, okay? So anything in blue is additional and supporting. And the reason we did that was so that, you know, in math, we don't call them key essential standards necessarily. It's, ELA uses that language a lot, but what we call it in math are major standards, right? We have our major standards, those are like non-negotiable, and then our adding and addition and supporting, those we need to find ways to integrate them. But if something's gonna have to give, or if you're going to have to give less time on something, it's going to be those blue standards because they are the additional and supporting. I mean, what I would love to tell you is like, make sure we can get them all in, but we are in a, you know, we are living in different times, right? So we want our kids to learn, but we want them to understand, okay? And that means that some things might get a little less time, or we might have to figure out other ways to be creative in how we can integrate and incorporate some of those standards, okay? And you know your kids, you know your PLC, you know the resources you have, so those will be decisions you'll want to make. Okay, thank you so much, breakout room 1. Breakout room 2, Katie, Stacy, Tony, and Tanya.
I wasn't fast on the unmute. The big thing we noticed was that the 6th grade prerequisite skills that the kids should already know were off to the right in that extra column. So like, as you're going through, it's real easy to be like, oh, they should already know this. It could be review. We also might have to check to make sure they didn't miss it in spring. So that was like an easy reference.
Yes, exactly. And if the standard is off to that right, it was in unit 3. And so we wanted to call it out as something like Katie says, they may not even have that knowledge or information yet because of the situation we were put into. So yes, those are there. And then we tried to add in just other prerequisites in general that they should have. Thank you for sharing, Katie. Breakout room 3, we have Christina, Heather, Julie, and Carrie.
Okay, so lots of great things within the document. Love the fact that there's so many links in there at your fingertips, so it's easy to access. And especially as an educator, you like to know the how much time you have and what should be the amount of time being utilized generally for the learning. And so that was off to the left. And I guess before one of the teachers was sharing with me that they had to kind of look for that in a different document. So it's all kind of right there. This is how many weeks, this is how many. You know,
yeah. Yeah, and those weeks, again, I mean, I can't stress enough, they're there, but it might need to be modified for you and your kids, you know, and whatnot, you know, but you also want the scope of the whole year. So it's there for you, but yes. And some are 2-week chunks, some are 4 weeks, 3 weeks. It just depended on what we put in there. All right, so breakout room 4, we have one more. Betty, it looks like Betty, Brittany, Ryan, and Veronica were in breakout room 4. Is there something else that you could add?
Now we talked about also the weeks, giving us the guide was awesome.
Okay.
And then we talked a little bit about the iMath. There are some questions about what iMath was.
Okay, yes, yes. And we left it there. However, I'm not sure. I think you're going to have a lot of other good resources that you can use as well, with setting up class culture, setting up norms and routines. We wanted to really give you some autonomy there with maybe you're going to teach kids how to do something through Zoom. Maybe we're going to practice how to do breakout rooms. Maybe we're going to practice how to use Padlet. So knowing that you're trying to set up the culture, the community, and also, you know, be able to have that, yeah, I guess just kind of like check in on kids, right? And build a hey relationship with them. So if you choose to use the iMath, you can go into our units and the iMath will be linked there. At the same time, I think we're going to put it on the website, but we imagine that you can browse through it, look at it, and decide if you want to use those. Those are all created by Jo Bowler. They're not created by us. She's been creating them now, I think, 4 years. So, and every now and then you can get like a good little task or a good, you know, how do you set up groups? You know, what is it that you like about groups? What is it that you don't like about groups? And allowing kids to have a discussion and whatnot. So, so if you're not familiar with iMath, it's okay. There'll be plenty of other topics and resources you can use to establish your classroom. All right, and the only other thing I was going to say is that came up this morning is in the document itself, we took those standards and then we try to deconstruct them into, you know, their skills, their parts, so that it would be easier and clearer to see what are the expectations. And we try to capture everything that we could by utilizing the framework, the item specifications, looking at that standard and really, really decomposing it, deconstructing it, researching it, and then try to lay out some skills that students would need to really meet the expectations. So we're hoping that will help you with writing learning intentions or finding resources that meet those skills. All right, thank you so much. So I'm going to go back to share my screen so I can get back to the presentation. So I'd like us to take a, let me just close this out. I would like us to take about a 3-minute break. And during your break time, we have 2 quotes for you to read. And after you read these quotes, if there's anything that resonates or you want to kind of just share with the group, we'll have you put it in the chat box. But these quotes, let me put us all out of the way. We have one from Barack Obama and one from Mother Teresa. So we'll give you a 3-minute break and then we'll bring everyone back. You can read your quotes, take a stretch, and we'll see you in 3 minutes. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you were able to get up and stretch a little bit. We have an idea here in the chat that Katie shared. Life lessons with Holman. I love that. Life lessons with De Leon. Yeah, I think that's great, especially during this time, because our kids will need that. And I think the first quote on empathy, we have been asked to try to put ourselves in other people's shoes during this time. And I think that's really important. And even instilling that empathy and that need of grace in our students, and as well as ourselves, our parents, everyone around us. Yeah, so thank you guys. Holman's Hood. That's awesome, Katie. That's awesome. Yeah. And then Mother Teresa's quote is also one of my favorite, because it's not about how much you do, but how much love you put into what you do that counts. And I know that each and every one of you is going to put in a lot of passion and love into this work, even through the challenges, even through the headaches, and through, you know, the feeling of maybe being inadequate at times, you know, but just put in that love and passion that you have in the classroom every day and from your home, you know, so it's going to be okay. And so we just really want to take that time to have a mindful moment as well, and know that this is also what our kids are going to need. All right, thank you for sharing. All right, so I'm going to keep us going and moving so we can get to our lesson. One of the things that we wanted to share, though, before we get going into our lesson is a link to how can educators tap into research to increase engagement. Now, we're giving you the document here. It's about 5 pages. It's a really easy read, this article, I should say, but we went ahead and listed out different ways to increase engagement that are called out in the article. But I think the key there is those words in pink, right? That the more we're able to communicate with our children, our students, and our parents, the better connection you're going to have. And that connection is really what's going to result in a great relationship. So we struggled with this at first, because, you know, when we went with the stay-at-home order, you know, it was like, oh my goodness, how do we communicate? How do we do this? How do we do business? You know, like we've always known our business. So what I love is when I read this article, it was when they talked about the parades and the chalk writing or the book reading, because I thought about all our teachers. I thought about all of you, and many of you participated in those parades. And I was able to participate with the Martin Luther King teacher teams. And let me tell you, it was a beautiful thing to see. Kids, parents, the community, the neighborhood, they just knew that they were important and they were special and they hadn't been forgotten. It was really, really nice. And I mean, I just wanted to touch on that because there's so many ways to engage kids and to motivate them, but something as simple as driving by, honking, posters was just a great way to say, you belong, you matter, I care for you. So kudos to all of you, because I saw a lot of videos on Facebook or Twitter, and our teachers, you guys really stepped up and just let people feel valued. So that's just an example, but it's what I wanted to really give a shout out to, because I know how important it made everyone feel. So the article's there, it's provided for you. And as we move through our lesson, we're hoping that you will see some of these things that are listed, things as giving students prompts and allowing them to have, to create using Padlet or other platforms. Okay, so again, this is for you. We're gonna walk through a lesson and you'll see some of these things in the lesson. All right, so what you're gonna get, when you go visit the website, you're going to have a page for 7th grade math. And when you get in there, you're gonna be able to pull the modules. The modules have all the lessons that have been created. And I just wanna reiterate that the lessons can be modified. The lessons are for you to look through and use as a resource you would find online, okay? But you're gonna have a cover page. That cover page will give you an overview. It will also give you the item specification, so you can see what is the expectation, and then a quick lessons at a glance for this module, okay? The lesson will include all those things that are common in your professional learning community. And they're listed there. It's the success criteria, the vocabulary, the sentence frames, a lot of these that live within your discussions already. but the team put them together and they provided you with each piece and component of that. But remember that learning intention success criteria, you of course want to change it. We wrote them in advance for you. However, if you see that you're going to use maybe 50% of the lesson and then another 50% you're going to pull in some of your own material, which then changes the learning intention a little bit, just rewrite it. All right, so here's all the parts you're going to have. And these are just simple, quick descriptions. We've given you some sentence frames, and that will be to help promote language and use of structure for not just our English learners, but for all students, for example. Okay, this is just a little quick little resource for you that you can go back and look at. So we're going to go ahead and get into modeling this lesson. I believe it's from Module 4, Lesson 8, I think, Paulo. So it's like maybe, you know, approximately 4 weeks into the school year. And so I'm going to turn it over to Paulo. And sorry, Paulo, sometimes I'm still trying to make sense of this. Let me stop my sharing and hand it over to you.
Okay.
And I'll monitor the chat.
Alrighty. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so if you click on the where it says 7th grade slides, you'll see the presentation. If you click on the 7th grade lesson, you'll see the format of the lesson. Okay, so I'm going to go over the slides. Okay. And it's lesson 8, so it has built off on prior lessons. So you're going to notice that we're not introducing ratios and proportions. We're building off on it. So earlier during the other weeks, or the other day, sorry, you'll see where we introduce RP1, and this just builds off on that. So it starts off as lesson 8. And then here's a learning intention we came up with. It says, I will determine whether a relationship is proportional by finding the constant of proportionality. Our success criteria says I will be successful by correctly determining whether the line passes through the origin, whether the line is straight or not, setting up the ratio y over x, labeling parts of the graph, simplifying each of the ratios, and describing the unit rate with sentence frames. We understand that, you know, you and your PLC might come up with a different one, maybe a better one, so feel free to modify. Again, this was just an example for teachers to build up upon, okay? Okay, so these are the skills that we want our kids to practice and exhibit. Describe relationships between two quantities, create tables and graphs, explain informally your thinking through verbal, written form, find the constant of proportionality / unit rate. In relationships, use reasoning about equivalent fractions, use other quantities, measure in like or different units. Okay. Here's some of the vocabulary we want to expose the kids, and we want to expose them as much as we can so they can soak it all up and start becoming familiar with the usage of these words. Unit rate, constant of proportionality, equivalent ratios, quantities for each, per, proportional, and not proportional. And they should have been exposed to most of this in 6th grade. The only two that stand out is constant of proportionality. All they knew it as was as unit rate and not proportional. Here are some examples for sentence frames. You can take a look at them. There is probably many more that you can come up with, probably better ones. These are just examples for you to use. And again, you want kids to keep practicing so they can get used to it, because when they take a rigorous exam or anything like that, or an assessment, you know, they're being expected to justify, to explain their thinking. And a lot of kids think that it's just algorithm numbers, and we have to get them used to the fact that math is going to involve a lot of explaining and justifying. So we want to prepare them for that. So you can take a quick look at them. I don't want to rush too fast, but I don't want to spend so much time on this slide either. Okay. So we're gonna start off the opening with a which one doesn't belong. In the other days, in the previous lessons, we start off with a warm-up, maybe a ratio table, maybe a graph. You want to keep it to something relevant for the day, but you also want to change it up for them. You know, just to keep the engagement going, change it up a bit. And from personal experience, my kids like which one doesn't belong because it's just something different. So if you click on it, it'll take you to the link, and it should also be in the chat. Some of you might be familiar with this, some of you might not. So the way it works is if you click on shapes, it shows you images, random images, and each individual picture has 4 smaller sections, and they call them shapes. So shape 14, shape 17. So I'm just gonna start off with shape 1. So what you would do is you would display it on your whiteboard. If you're gonna display it on your screen for this upcoming trimester, and you just tell the kids to pick one of the 4 in shape 1 and just say something about that one that they're picking, something that stands out, why they're different from the rest. For example, I could point out the hexagon. You know, to me, the hexagon does not belong because it has 6 sides. You might have another kid that might say, well, the triangle on the top left is upside down. The base is not flat. And those are all good responses. Now, the reason why we think this is good for them is because we want them to transition this type of thinking into math. We want them to visualize and see things different than other kids. We want them to get the idea across their mind that math is solved in multiple ways and is seen in multiple ways. It's not just through one, you know, through one strategy. Because a lot of the kids think that if they don't get it a certain way, then, you know, they're not going to get it at all. They're just not good at math. And we want to change that mindset in kids. So there is a bunch of different ones. I wanted to keep it relevant to what we're teaching. So if you go to the graphs, it will show you some graphs. Okay. Now, graphs 5 is a good one for this particular lesson. And also 7, I believe. 7's another good one. Okay, so there's a couple. So I'm gonna focus on. We're gonna practice with graph 5. Okay. So what I did, I took a little screenshot, a snippet shot, and then I copied it into my Padlet. Okay. So I'm gonna exit, and I'm gonna open up the Padlet. Should be on the. We'll put in the link right now. Okay. Can't access it yet. Okay. There it is. So what I did is I just took a little screenshot. I edit a little bit, and then I put it in a Padlet. Okay. So we have some examples from our previous session. Is this from our previous session?
It is. It is. I'm going to go in. I'll go in and sorry, I'll go in and delete some of those right now. Sorry, that was my fault. I forgot to do it from this morning.
I could delete some too. Okay. So we'll clean it up. 30 seconds. But this is what I did. I took a screenshot of that graph with my device, and I just posted on this Padlet. And then the question, it's at the top. Actually, a sentence frame. So it says graph 1, 2, 3, or 4. You can decide how you want to number these 4 individual images. What I do is I taught my kids how to just say top right, top left, bottom right, bottom left. And it took some practice, but they got used to it. But you can number them 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to picture it as a coordinate plane, you can name them after like a quadrant. So we would like you just to point out some things regarding this image and tell us, which graph doesn't belong in your eyes, and tell us why. And we'll just give you a few minutes for you to put your comment, and then if you want to respond to other people, feel free to do so. I believe it should be allowed in the settings. Let me see. Yeah, comments are allowed. So yeah.
And it's important to ask for the justification. So if students tell you this one doesn't belong, they need to tell you why.
And again, this is another way, instead of just showing it on the screen and telling them, okay, anybody want to share or anybody want to put in the chat, it's just another way to change it up for them. Now, I saw a question earlier in the chat about posting. So hopefully I answered it, but in the bottom right, there's a little pink circle here, the plus sign. You just click it, and then that's where you should be able to do your post. You can upload a file already in your computer. You can share a link. You can go on Google. You can share a live picture. And there's just a bunch of things you can do. A film, a voice, a screen, a drawing. But that is the main button at the bottom right here. The top right does not belong because it's the only one that goes through the origin. Yeah. Graph 4 does not belong, has a negative slope. Yep. Stays below the x-axis. Graph. But yeah, these are great responses, and this is what we want in our classroom. We want kids to just be throwing out a bunch of different answers and justifying them. So this is great. So again, we hope you like this tool. We hope you find it useful.
And if I can just add, Paolo, while you're saying that, is this is a great way to elicit their thinking, you know, like back to the slide that Paolo showed with how to gather student thinking, gather evidence of what they understand or don't understand. This is an easy entry point for all students. But it's allowing them to use their voice. It's allowing them to justify. It's allowing them to learn from others, which, like Paolo said, it's like that's what they're going to do in math class. So this is a great way to just, as a teacher, see their process, their thinking, their strengths, and also provide feedback, because you are able to comment on each of their justifications. So it's a great way to communicate.
Okay. Is everybody good with the time? Do we need anything? Yeah, we're good? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and step away from this, and I'm gonna continue with the presentation. Okay. All right, hold on, I'm gonna stop sharing.
Okay, yes, it is my turn. Okay, yeah, and Stacy wrote, I love the idea of having them make their own. And I think Trisha might have said, or somebody said that, but yes, teachers have made their own in the classroom. I've seen kindergarten teachers just kind of grab random things in the classroom. They have like little 4 squares taped off in the classroom, and then they bring items in there, and then the kids circle around the little 4 squares, and then they talk about which things don't belong. And I thought that was pretty phenomenal, because it's just random things in the classroom. And then the kids would bring in their own things. And I mean, some of them had no relationship, but hey, it's something they're proud of to create. So yeah, I'm going to take over the lesson at this point. So we want our students to have an introduction. We want them to come in. It's also fun if you can, since you have that 90 minutes with them, to do a check-in with them, maybe even before you start your warm-up or your number talks or whatever you're going to do to begin. You can definitely have a quick icebreaker with them. I just saw one where you put kids in, or adults or whoever, put them into breakout rooms and then ask, what are 3 things you have in common? And not the obvious things, like we're all teachers or we're all females, not the obvious things, but what could we discuss that we can have in common? Like we may all come up with that we all crochet, something like that. But the point is that they would have to talk and come up with 3 things they have in common. So now that we have just a little bit more time with our students, just a little bit, right? Because we still have to make up time, but make sure we're checking in on them before we kind of get going right into the grind of everything. So thank you, Paulo, for the which one doesn't belong. I think it's great because it's going to actually pull out math behaviors. Like we talked about those mathematical practices. You don't always call them out. We don't always say, oh, we're teaching number 2 or we're teaching number 7. They just happen naturally with a good prompt or a good problem or a good task that you give students. So I want to take us through the next part of the lesson. So in the next part of the lesson, I'm going to take this time to model and think aloud, okay? And then I'm going to put you into breakout rooms to try what I am modeling. But I will be modeling, but at the same time, I'll be explaining, okay? I think, let me see, I think I have the presentation, yeah. Okay, so with this slide, and again, the slides have been provided for you, so you can make a copy and then modify them as you would like. But in this slide, we really wanted to stay focused around that rule of 4 that we've been using now for the past several years so that students can make connections between the different representations of proportional relationships, which are really part of the standard in 6th, in 7th, and in 8th. So we're preparing them also for functions. So today we're going to look at this problem. It's about a truck, about a Ford Raptor truck, and it states a 2020 Ford Raptor truck can travel 30 miles for every 2 gallons of fuel. What is the unit rate of miles per gallon? Okay, so the first thing I'm thinking about is unit rate. I feel like I've heard that before. Oh yeah, last week I heard about it. Mr. Savala was talking about it. I'm just wanting to model for kids like that I have to go back and sometimes retrieve knowledge, right? So what is that unit rate? Okay, yeah, I remember in 6th grade we learned unit rate as well. Okay, yeah, so let me go back and reread this. The Ford Raptor truck can travel 30 miles for every 2 gallons of fuel. So what I understand is that this truck can travel 30 miles, and they obviously went to the gas station and they put 2 gallons of fuel, and that was able to get them 30 miles. So again, just as a child or as a person reading this, I'm just trying to make sense of it. I'm trying to put it into my world so that I can make sense of it. 30 miles for every 2 gallons, okay. And then they want to know what the unit rate is per gallon. So how far would this truck go in with 1 gallon of fuel? Okay, all right. So it looks like we just need to figure out how far this truck will travel if we only had 1 gallon of fuel. I think I can do that. Okay. So what you see on your screen right now is a table that's filled out. Initially though, I think when I go to present, it's not filled out. So I don't know why I can't go to present. Let me.
Yeah, it won't be filled out if you present it.
That's so weird, huh? It's okay. I'll just kind of model it from here. So if I was going to fill this out with my students, I would definitely model what I'm thinking. So I would have put in like 2 gallons, allow me to travel 30 miles. And then doubling is so important for students to know how to do. So I would tell them, okay, if I have 2 gallons and that gets me 30 miles, I know that if I double that, I'd have 4 gallons and that would allow me to go 60 miles. And then they could even double that. I mean, this idea of doubling, I just highly encourage that we teach our kids and model that for our kids often, doubling and halving, because that's real world right there, right? So you can see that we've created a table of values and that we were able to get back to the 1 gallon is 15, can take you 15 miles. Now, at first glance, this looks very easy, something that they can just, hey, no problem, it's half. 2 gallons is 30 miles, so 1 gallon is 15 miles. That's wonderful. That's what we want. We want them to be able to see the relationship right away. We want them to be able to answer the question. To add to that, though, we also want kids to understand equivalency, right? We also want them to know how to use a table, how to put data into a table. So if they have the answer, that's great, but we're going to pull out more information from them and allow them an opportunity to showcase how they can work with these numbers. So you can have pre-made tables for kids. Here, I would have modeled it, but what I also want to show is that you can use Desmos to complete a rule of 4 when you don't have, we can't guarantee all students will have graph paper, or we can't guarantee that students will have a rule of 4 sheet in front of them. So I'm going to model how to do this, and then I'm going to have you try one in a breakout room together, okay? So it'll be maybe a little bit of a learning curve if you've never used Desmos. I will bounce around and help you out. But with Desmos, a lot of you are familiar with it. We kind of introduced it throughout the years, and we've just had a few more people jump on and learn it. But with Desmos, it's a free graphing calculator, and it's just a wonderful resource for middle school. And our high school uses it. So if we can get our kids comfortable with using Desmos now, it will definitely allow them to be more successful with this tool in high school. So I'm going to take our information. And so when you get to Desmos, I am sharing my screen, right, you guys? Yeah, okay, sorry. So when you get to Desmos, you're just going to enter into the graphing calculator.
So they got to sign in with Google and it'll take them there.
Yeah, and so that'll be something you'll need to do on your own if you don't have an account. But once you get into Desmos, there's a plus button up here. And so when you hit that plus button, you can put in a table. And when I put in the table, I will put in my values. And when I put in my values, it will plot those points automatically into the graph. Okay, so just bear with me. 1 gallon gave me 15. 2 gallons gave me 30 miles. 3 gallons would give me 45. And 4 gallons would give me 60. And so then I'm gonna kind of find where I can see my graph a little bit here. So again, it's so important for our kids to make the connection between the table and the graph. And this isn't something new at this point where this lesson is, because they would have been doing it now for a little while, the lessons prior. They did have some introduction in 6th grade as well, but we're not done here. But what we're hoping is that when kids create their table, if they make a mistake, they'll be able to see that their points aren't lining up. You know, just having that visual is so important. So if I happen to put like 3 is, I'm just gonna say, I'm just gonna say like 20, let's see. You know, that they would notice that there's something wrong, and that's what we want. We want kids, again, this is part of the math behaviors. When something doesn't make sense, they're gonna have to find a different pathway. They're gonna ask themselves questions. Well, why isn't that working? Because this should be a straight line. So I'm gonna go back, put in our data correctly. So right now, when you think about the rule of 4, we're looking for 4 things. We're looking for a table, a graph, an equation, and a verbal description. Okay, that's kind of our basic rule of 4. What you can do now is here, right underneath, I'm just gonna click into that next rectangle, that next box, and I'm gonna go ahead and write my equation in there, okay? So y equals 15x. And if I've written the correct equation, then that line should go through all my points, okay? And I'm probably not doing the best job right now, but like I would want to model, how did I get that 15, right? And how is it that I'm able to write it this way? And that would have been, you know, a couple lessons prior to this. But by now our students would be able to hopefully write an equation, and you as a teacher would want to kind of model your thinking. So we're good. Yes.
Can you show them how to zoom in into the graph? If you notice, our X column goes by 1s, but our Y column goes by 15. So you would click on the little wrench.
Oh, sorry.
And then where it says your X axis, you want to change that to maybe start at 0 and then finish off at 10. And it should zoom in and give a better, there we go.
I'm gonna just do it like 5 maybe, just because. And then with the y-axis, I could even just start it at 0.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going, I guess I'm going all the way up to 60.
There you go.
Okay. And you can adjust your screen real easy. I mean, I'm just using my mouse. And when I use my mouse, I'm scrolling with the little scroll. And when I do that, it allows me to kind of zoom in and out. So 3 things now. I have the table, I have the graph, and I have the equation. And I can do this all virtually, you guys, which I know a lot of you have used the rule of 4 in your classrooms, you know, the paper and pencil. But again, we're trying to figure out how can we still give kids access to the learning? How do we give them access to understand? And so in this case here, we want them to make connections between all the different representations. One of the nice things we learned too is that you can click in here and you can write. It doesn't always show everything you write. So if I was just looking for the unit rate, for example, I can say I can travel 15 miles with 1 gallon of fuel. So, I mean, when we saw this, we thought, okay, well, this is a great way that we can use the rule of 4 and students can work together in a breakout room and do this. Or we can leave them and we'll say, we'll see you guys in 15 minutes. Go do, see you in 15 minutes. And then we bring them all back and they can share what they've done. So what we did is we took a screenshot of this and we wanted to like turn in your assignment, right? Trying to figure out again, in the virtual setting, how can we still capture students' understanding and their thinking? So we're gonna have you go into a breakout room. We're gonna give you your own problem. You will create a table. You will see those points from your table on the graph. Then we want you to write an equation. And then we would like you to write words. Now, the words, if you could just keep your sentence short for today, that you can adjust the width. So if you need a little bit more room for your words, your verbal description, you can do that, okay? But it's not really meant as a text box, but we know that we can write text in it, so we did.
We had a great question, Hilda.
Yes.
It says, can we switch to see their screens while they do this on their screen? And Go Guardian will allow you to see their screens, but is there another way that we can see what they're doing?
I'm not, the only way I would say, I'm not 100% sure we can put that on the district question so the tech team can put, to look into it. But the way I would do it is if I do put kids in breakout sessions, they can share their own screens. So if you were to do this as a group, which I'm about to do right now, I could jump into their rooms and I could see this screen that you're seeing right now as they're working on it. So I could just jump around and see if they have any questions, but I could also see what their graphs and tables are that they're putting in. So that's, again, once kids get kind of comfortable with navigating Desmos and those share screen and all the Zoom features.
Katie also said that there's a share button on the right there on the next to the screen, so maybe they can do that too.
Yes, they can. Yep. And then you can have them turn it in as an assignment into their Google Classroom, or like we're going to have you do today, see our timing. We're going to have you put it into a slide. We're going to have you snip it or take a screenshot and then put it into the presentation. So let me just show you really quick. This here, for example, and this is a nice way to hold them accountable by having them put their names. So I hope you guys can see that. So it's Brenda, Paulo, and Hilda, and then this is our screenshot of our graph, our table, our words, and our equation. Okay. So I'm going to put, we're going to put this in the chat box. This is where I would like you to put your picture of the problem we're about to give you. And we may not, I'm going to give you about, let's say 7 minutes. So it may not seem like a long time, I know. We'll bounce around a little and help out. But here's the problem we're going to give you. So the problem we're going to give you is from the presentation. And I think I'm just going to have all of you do the dolphin problem. Okay, so it reads, short-beaked dolphins can swim really fast. If they swim for 10 hours straight, they would travel 370 miles. How many miles can they swim per hour? Okay. So I'm going to take that, put it into the chat box. And then we'll also put the link of the presentation where we would like you to take a picture, a screenshot, or a snip, and then upload your rule of 4, okay? And if you don't get there, it's perfectly fine, all right? So I'm gonna put you into breakout rooms. Give me a second, everyone. Let me just put into the chat box really quick the problem. Stop sharing. All right. So when you get into those breakout rooms, look at the problem and you're going to create a table off of that information. And then if one of you could share your screen and go into desmos.com, we will be around as well to help, okay? So, Okay, welcome back, everyone. If you're new to Desmos, I hope you saw that it can be a powerful tool and resource to bring to life the standards that and also can engage our kids. I'm going to pull up our screens really quick and just share with you what some of you were able to do. Here's Katie, Tanya, Tony, and Stacy. One of the things I noticed right away is that in their table, they didn't keep their numbers sequential, right? So I can see it goes from 0 to 10 to 5 to 1. And even though I'm calling that out for you guys right now, it'd be cool to pose that question to your students. Like, what do you guys notice is different or similar within the different slides, you know, or the different tables? Here's one with the table. Oh, somebody went all the way to 10. And you went in sequential order. We see our equation, our words, and we also notice that when you're typing, it sometimes turns to math symbols. And again, it's not meant to really type in text, but it kind of worked for us and it worked for what we needed to do. But I think we get the idea. Yep, and here's another one. Again, checking for understanding. I'm looking for what kids are able to do or where they might need some help. Yeah, these look great. And again, if you put names, then you can also hold them accountable in that way as well, because they're going to have to write their name. You're going to be checking in on the break rooms. And so you'll know like who's collaborating, you know, who's speaking, who, if somebody's kind of taking over too much, you know, posing the questions or keeping people or having students have different roles to help you with that. So, okay. Perfect.
Hilda, can you try slide 5? We included the link. We actually did the share just to see if it works.
Okay, yes. So it should work where you share the information with a link. And so they provided the link. So once you get comfortable and you understand Desmos a little bit better, this is something that your kids can definitely do and put it into the Google Classroom and turning it in as an assignment. Yeah.
It could be another alternative if they're having a hard time doing a screenshot. They could just share their link.
Yeah. And just remember, again, it's a learning curve. So before we move, I just want to share that, look, this is one way that we could have kids show us their understanding and work through the multiple representations. You could also have kids write and then show you like a whiteboard, okay? The reason I say that is there's so many other ways that we could have students show us their work. It's not just Desmos. Desmos is just an example that was put into this lesson, and I want you to have that autonomy. When you look through these lessons, you might say, ooh, instead of using Desmos, I'm just gonna take screenshots of different tables and have kids write equations off of the tables I'm sharing. Or I'm gonna do this instead of that. And so I want you to know and be comfortable. You can do that, please do that. But if this works for you, by all means use it. And if you have questions, you can always reach out to us, okay? From this point, I think we're gonna stop. We're not gonna actually close it out. We could have given students an independent one to do on their own and then find a way to have them, whether it's create a Flipgrid or show, because Flipgrid is one thing we're not using in this session, but we have in the past, and we know that's a really good resource and tool. But what we're gonna do is I'm gonna sorry, you guys can still see my screen, yeah? So just thinking about like what part of this lesson would you use in your classroom? Okay, you don't have to answer that. It's just I want you to think when you look at these lessons, you need to ask yourself, what part might I use? What is it that I like? What is it that I might want to try? And so then I'm going to turn it over to Paulo, who will take you through the Ed Tech Center, which is the new website that's been created for you guys.
Okay. All right.
So thank you. I should just say thank you guys for playing along with us and allowing us to show you a lesson.
Okay, so. All right, so the EdTech Center is a really great resource that the tech team is providing for us. It's your one-stop shop for everything. You want to access the lessons, you want some Google support, some how-to videos, or you want to see an example of how a Google Classroom structure looks like. This is your go-to site. So I'm going to click on it and just kind of flow around it and check it out. So we have the lessons by grade level. And then the first 3 days, we have the TK all the way to 8th grade. We will go to 7. And then it is linked by subject. So we have your ELA, your history, your math, your PE, your science. Okay, the first 3 days are there. And then you would click on the math. Here's an example of your 7th grade math class. How to create a Google Classroom. Here are the math lessons. Okay, you would go to the 7th grade math folder. The unit is linked. The essential standards that we saw earlier. Module 1, lessons 1 through 5, lessons 6 through 10. We did a module 2. We did a lesson 8. Okay, so you would be introducing RP in module 2, lessons 1 through 5. That's where you would start introducing ratios and proportional relationships. We have the EdTech. Oops. So we have the EdTech section. Okay, and that just displays the different apps, the docs, the drawings, the drive, Jamboard. So this is your whole G Suite right here. Your forms. Okay, we have Achieve 3000, your Clever, Freckle, Go Guardian, your Zoom. So it's really, really neat that they've done this for us. A guidebook for the Google Classroom. Okay. The different type of material you can upload, assignments, quizzes, and then how tutorial for kids. Okay, the Chromebook skills for the little ones. Communicating with families. BCSD will be utilizing phone communication. Coming soon. Okay, so it's coming soon. Your SEL, which is now a big component of our instruction. You have all the SEL lessons. Okay, there's a drive for week 1, week 2, goes by weeks. We have a Zoom. So webinar for educators. So it's just like it's literally your one-stop shop for everything when it comes to our resources. Okay, and then the BCSD homepage will be the last one. Okay, so we hope you can navigate through it when you have some time. We did a little rush version right now, but it's there for you to use.
And I'm not sure if in the text section, they may go over it a little bit more in detail. So for us, really was just to show you where to find your lessons, but also give you a quick glimpse of, look, there's all these resources there. And I also know that there is a section somewhere where you can request support. So if there's something you don't know how to use a Padlet, and you notice that there's no how to document, and I'm not sure where that button is right now, but somewhere in that website you'll be able to just click and say, hey, can you guys create a how-to for this or that, and they're going to be working on it. So I think that's really a blessing for all of us, because I know we're going to find some things and get stuck in certain things we've never used before. So there'll be a place where you can request certain supports.
Yeah, and if you're interested in the breakout rooms feature for Zoom, someone is Rachel, right? She's working on that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Here is the digital parking lot. This is where you can ask questions that we may not be able to answer. Those are more direct questions to the district. So all you do is click on the link and it'll take you to our parking lot, digital parking lot. And you could ask any questions that you may have not been answered yet. So for example, there is 45 minutes in it for ELD, is this synchronous, or can it be integrated? So those are all questions that you can ask, and someone from the district will hopefully clarify that for you.
Yeah, I think those are put in from a different session. So you guys just add your questions at the bottom. And I just want to, in the chat, I know Katie was talking a little bit more about the graphs, and I think it's so important for you guys to know that there are so many rich conversations that can happen with the lesson that we just presented, and you have 90 minutes. So I just I just want to reiterate, like, you're going to have this time to really have rich discussions about all these bits and pieces and parts that kids really need to understand their standards or their concepts. So thank you for sharing, all of you, in the chat today.
And here is our BCSD priorities again, and our learning intention and success criteria. And we will be dropping the evaluation link and the sign outs. So please give us some feedback, and go ahead and complete the sign out. This is how you will get paid.
I'm going to put it into the chat box. Sorry, everybody. I'm going to put it into the chat box. Plus, I will also put it on the slides. So the first one I'm going to put up is the eval. So just give me a second. And you just want to be a little careful, because you will have to make sure you put in the right letter. Because earlier somebody went to the ELA session, and so somehow we thought I had put in the wrong letter myself, but it was just one individual. So I told her, you're fine. She's like, no, I'm going to redo it. So I said, okay, that's fine too. So the first link, the DQC, is the eval, and then the DQS is your sign out. And I'll put it again, like I said, up on the screen. I think I just have to go in there. We just have to navigate. So just be patient with me. Okay, so they're in the slides. The links are in the slides, and they're also in the chat box. And I think we just have 2 more slides.
Yeah. So this slide again is the resources for the EdTech Center, the parking lot, the Jamboard, Padlet, some ELD strategies, the article that we linked earlier. Oops, I'm sorry, I went too fast. Okay, the middle school model lessons, 6, 7, and 8, and the Zoom breakout rooms, that is in the making. Okay, it will be up and ready to go hopefully soon, and it'll allow you to learn how to do the breakout rooms, which is personally is going to be really, really useful. And we hope you really enjoyed this session. We hope you found some useful tools, and thanks for spending 2 hours of your time with us.
Yes, and as soon as you're done, you can just log out. So thank you again. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Tanya. Bye, everyone. I know,
Bye.
and I love that Betty has her little girl in front of her.
Okay. Yeah, the kids came home from the sitter like 30 minutes too early. I was like, wait a second. This meeting goes till 5, so now she has to be a part of it. Okay.
That's okay. We love some kiddos.
Say hi, look. Hi.
Hi. It's
Hi.
adorable.
I want to hear your sweet voice.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Betty, how old is she now?
She'll be 3 on Friday.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
Bless.
Yes, we have another kiddo. My favorite. Aww.
Look, there's your friend Elliot.
Hi.
Hi.
You tell them how old you are?
Am I 3?
You're 3.
Oh, you're the same age, pretty much. Aww.
Can you go back? Can you tomorrow?
Pretty sure y'all planned that, by the way.
We did not.
Okay, so my granddaughter is 2.5, so just very close in same in age. So just so much
Right.
fun. Such a joy.
This is the best age. I love it.
Have a sleepover.
He's asking if Lexi can come have a sleepover.
Mommy, can Wesley play with me and then can he's got
Oh.
with you?
Oh yeah, our kids play together, so they know each other.
Carrie, look at Carrie's baby.
Oh
see.
yes. Look at the doggy. Yeah. So cute.
There we go, your fur baby.
My 19 and 21-year-old won't let me hold them anymore.
You know, it's true, right? At a certain point, they're like, oh, get away from me. Yeah, they're so wonderful.
My 4-year-old, she's happy. She's happy to be held.
There you go.
Aw, look at her.
There you go. Well, Hilda and your team, Paolo, I don't know you, but you guys were amazing today. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun and the time went by really fast, believe it or not.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And we
good.
will relay that message definitely to the team. No, we
Yeah,
appreciate you guys.
You guys were my 5th and 6th hour of Zoom today, and I was really kind of dreading it. So thank you. It wasn't as bad.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah.
All right. Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
Jolie.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye. Thank you, guys. Have a great year. Have a great beginning of your year.
What you think, Miss Otello? Was it good? Yeah? Okay, good.
Christina, you're one of those Zoom people that you just show like this part. Have you ever seen that like little, there you go.
Well, I was eating sunflower seeds, so I didn't want you to see me.
Well, there's like, oh wait, I'm gonna stop recording. Hold on. I don't even know. Stop recording. Sorry.